Okay, we're on the final painting now of these demonstration pieces for Trevor. I'm going to do this Niflheim elephant because he did an elephant, and although I quite liked what he'd done, the colours were nice and it was nice and loose and good brushwork. I don't want to copy those same colours or do it in quite the same way. I could do this one in watercolour, which I think is what he's done his in. I'm going to in fact do it in acrylics in a very loose way and use a bit of sponge. So I'm going to use just brushwork and sponge on this one. And I look at it, I'm looking at it now in fact, and I can see that the drawing needed the painting perhaps needed a darker background. Let's look at it again. If we look at this one, you can actually just see the outline of the drawing going here, and from a distance the elephant seems to be just taken over by the darks. If you'd had a darker background here and round the elephant, it would have stood out more and been more solid, and this would have worked a lot better. That's quite nice. There's a nice bit of painting in here, I like the colours. So I'm tempted to do it in watercolour, but I'm in two minds whether to use your colours or mine. But anyway, that's what I would have done here, was I would have had a darker background here to bring the elephant out, especially on the light back, and that would have made the drawing better, because there's something wrong here. It's got a huge hump on his backside. The head's nicely seen and nicely painted. I love that bit just there, it's very, very nice. So let's see what we can do. I'll use the acrylics a bit like watercolour then. I'll use them quite thinly so you can see how that's done. And again, I'll go back to a filbert brush. It's an intermediate one size. Not sure what I'm going to do with the background yet, but let's just work up this Niflheim. We'll start with just the background textures, lights and darks. So I'll start with fairly light colours. Start with some yellow ochre and a little touch of magenta into that. Let's give that a quick test. Yeah, that's quite nice. I'll use plenty of water, so this time we'll use acrylics a bit like watercolour. And I'll work in these lighter areas first, and then work out to the darks afterwards. Feel my way around it, so my brush strokes are actually building up the elephant, if you like. I'm going to go over them slightly in places, or to be a little bit more techniquey. I'd like to get the feeling of some dust and African atmosphere. Right, as soon as that's done then, we'll start working in other colours. Let's take some green here, and we'll start working that in for the shadows. Plenty of water. Use it like watercolour, we'll just glaze up. So I'm working from my lights to my darks at the moment. And I'm going to start, as I say, working texturing in there, but I'm going to do hopefully some of that with the sponge soon. Right up. So we're using this turquoise and green to build up our shadows. Just need to paint these back in again more neatly in a minute. And again, that's the beauty of acrylics, we can paint one thing over another. Well, we'll just put these various greys and background colours in just to, as I say, try and find some form here and an effective light. Because we are playing with light all of the time here, that's the point. That's one thing with acrylics that is annoying, that you get these nasty lines where joins are, unless you can do them quickly enough before they dry, and that's not really possible in this case. Lights against darks, warms against cools. An impressionist piece again, but even an impressionist elephant is interesting. Let's really play with these colours, start to find them. Using the texture of the paper as well to get the texture of the elephant. Just dragging the brush over this watercolour paper is giving me that texture feeling, without me even doing any sponging. Just dragging it through there over the roughness of the watercolour paper. And just building up the elephant with texture, literally at the moment, for the subject. So I'm trying to choose the best method and medium here to interpret the subject of this elephant And there's our elephant appearing out of nowhere, just by using texture. So it's a bit like drawing with shading, isn't it? And our elephant is just appearing by putting the right colours in the right places in the right shapes relevant one to another. Let's see if we can get an elephant's texture going. Just look at that then, isn't that what we wanted? Right, pick up some of the lighter colour. Just start to work those in around the edges. I was watching one of these programs on TV the other day, and they were struggling to do, students were struggling to do elephants. I thought they're not an easy thing to do, especially when they're moving around. And that texturing needs to come down to the base here as well. So we want to start picking up these darks and lights with actual drawing more now. Just work my way across it, don't always go along things. Some texturing that are coming down there. And round the elephant's trunk. We didn't quite get with our sponge. Not what you'd expect maybe, just to play the warm against the cool again. So something I've been saying a while. You have to play these others that's in the colour circles. So I'm feeling just the edges of the savannah. I want to put a bit of texturing in there with sponges really, but I'll just use my brush for the moment. Where the ear comes, just on the edge there. So now we're going to start getting some of these very strong lights and darks I was just talking about, to bring out the we can start to find things like his eye. I don't want to paint a perfect photograph of an elephant. What we want to do is capture the essence of the elephant essence. So there should be a word like that, shouldn't there? Hopefully you're happy with what I'm doing and showing you, and it'll give you some ideas for your own work. Who knows, maybe one day we'll paint together even. Be a lovely idea. I think I need to do a lot more because I've done what I intended to do and just showed you about building things up, not necessarily as you would expect. And there we are then, one Nephilumpt. Using that sponge, I still want to do a little bit more sponge work. Just going to come back with some blues to give a bit more shadow across here. And I think that'll do you, won't it? Give an idea anyway. Well, Trevor, I hope that's helped you, and others of you have found it of use as well. That's the end of this little series. And here are the last two works together. And that's it then for the moment. Giving you lots of ideas, I hope.